Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadaya.com.
Hey, I love the new introduction. I do have a question though, saying Dr. Jeff there pointing at rebuking rubbish. Did he get his show unveiled yesterday?
The show is recording. It's on the cutting room floor, waiting for final edits, and we will be. It's ready to go whenever they say it's ready to go. So yeah.
Okay. Are you the editor, by the way, or did you assign the job of editing to the people that produce these shows?
No, yeah. I take care of the. I am the facilitator.
You are
I
so
do
you
the
are the
edits.
producer. You are the facilitator,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
and you have time to breathe and eat a meal on occasion.
It was a busy, trying week. The Shabbat was good. Shabbat was solid, man. Had a great Shabbat. Sunday was a little hectic. Sunday was a little. Yeah, I played you the clip of what I dealt with on Sunday, and then we moved into
That was
refuting.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. Now, when I was encouraging people to do this,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to set like an example, and I said we have
Mm-hmm.
StreamYard. It's you turn on the lights, you turn on the camera, and you go,
Mm-hmm.
and you are, which
Right.
we have done over 1,000 hours so far since we
Mm.
began this process. Do you know how many edits I've asked you to do, or that I have done, or that Rich has done on the 1,000 hours of Yahoo Vlog so far?
None.
Zero,
It's.
zero.
Mm-hmm.
I listen. I understand that it is harder to do this than most people think, and I understand that most people have edited shows when they go. But after a while, you kind of need to have enough material that you're ready to go, and that you're able to deliver a cogent message without hitting the delete button.
Well, and they're getting better. Everyone is absolutely getting better. You know what I mean? It's
I would agree.
Roger, Will, Salah.
Yes.
They're all getting better to the point to where it's a very light hand, and it's
Yes.
sometimes none at all. And this was Dr. Jeff's first show, and it's a good product. We wouldn't put it out if it wasn't a good product. But it was. He has said many times, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he just clicks on the live and goes, because it's tough to sit there, and especially by yourself.
It is harder. Yeah, but you can prepare your material in advance and know what
Mm-hmm.
you're going to talk about, and no, that should be enough. And I know that Dr. Jeff is very bright, very well informed,
Mm-hmm.
and has a great vocabulary. And he knows his material inside out. He's a natural, and maybe I'm sure he'll work his way into it. I do want to say that the first Y2K programs that I watched were tough because they were having a tough time with the pregnant pauses.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent two have been really excellent, but the most recent one, which I drew attention to because Leah said, you need to hear the song and hear
Mm-hmm.
David's voice. And oh my, does that young man have
Yeah.
a voice? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, even Rich listened to it this morning. So there are some real jewels and all of that. And one, of course, the thing that is a real jewel for us is that there is a number of places where you're seeing that there is ongoing talent that can create a very credible, interesting program. Will
Mm-hmm.
has really grown into this, where once he figured out the earphone thing, uh, he's delivering a really good show, and
Mm-hmm.
he's doing the thing that made the most sense, which is you've got all this material, you don't need to worry about what you're going to talk about. Use the material, and that gives you everything you need to get going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's doing a phenomenal job on it, and I am looking forward to having Dr. Jeff's review, because there's nobody that's really taking on the
Yes.
nature of rabbinic Judaism. So I'm delighted to see him doing that. I understand you also spent some time with my bride, and she now is going to have a show on her poetry and songs, mostly her poetry.
She is doing a show on a podcast on her poetry and songs that requires no editing, no Kebby input. So
Wow.
she's literally taking the bull by the horns and says, "I'll do it myself."
Wow. She has, a pretty good relationship with the producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I had, in fact, this morning, as I responded to something quite harshly, I went in to ask her some questions, and she was immediately on the phone with you.
Yes.
I didn't walk down the hall and was in Rich's office before I heard her calling Rich on the phone and said she just had a chat with you. So yes, we had a little issue with the nature of Yahweh's name and conveying it. So I want to make something really clear before we get started. There are some hard and fast rules when you're presenting one language in another. The typical term is called translation. And the rules of proper translation, if you're reading a Hebrew text and you want to render that text in English, which, by the way, is a highly desirable thing to do because modern Hebrew and the Hebrew of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms are distinctly different in many ways. And they've even changed the alphabet, so they're conveying words using entirely different letters based upon the influence of rabbis who have made a mess of God's Torah and prophets. But the overall rule is that you translate words, which means you replicate the meaning of that word in the other language. And you transliterate names and titles, which means you properly convey the sound of that name or title in the other language. For example, I can't use this fellow here because there was no Jesus and there was no Mr. Christ. And so that's not a very good example. But you know what Kevin is in Hebrew, Arabic, French, or German?
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin.
They might spell it a little different, but it's still Kevin.
Yes. The false god Allah is Allah in any language. Yahweh is Yahweh's name in any language. It does not change based upon the language. So if there is a change in the pronunciation of a name in another language, then that is deceitful. Then there is somebody trying to deceive. For example, when Yehudim, which is Yahweh's name for his people, not just for his people, it's one of the 12 tribes, Yehudim, from Yahud, the plural of Yahud, means beloved of Yah. It's a compound of Yahweh's name and Dod's name. When it became Jew, or Jews in the plural, in the 17th century, there was a deliberate attempt to disassociate and deceive. There is no basis for Jew or Jews. Yahud was a name given to one of the 12 sons of Jacob. His wife, in that case, delivering Yahud, was Leah. And so it's the name of one of the 12 tribes. There's nobody on the planet that knows if they were a descendant of that one tribe. It's hard enough to know if you were part of that naming convention of among Babylonians called Yisrael. But one moment, a man who was 100% Babylonian from Sumer and with all of the parents going back generations being Babylonians, the moment that he was renamed Yisrael, his genetics did not change. He was still Babylonian, but the naming convention is Yisrael. So if you're going to be accurate, if your intent is to be accurate and you don't want to deceive, then all names and titles are transliterated. You replicate the sound. You don't change Mashiach to Christ. That would be deceitful. You replicate it as the sound of it. Now, if you look at numbers of people, they will either change Yahweh's name and they will replace it with Hashem. Oh, that's deliberately deceitful.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's in violation of the third statement that Yahweh etched in stone that says that the negation of his name is unforgivable. There's others that will replace it by Adonai, the Lord. To replace Yahweh's name with the title Adonai, the Lord, is flat out deceitful. It's dishonorable. You do not have the authority to replace Yahweh's name with the title Lord, and yet that is what happens in virtually every English Bible. So it's not a translation, it is a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
The King James Bible and all English Bibles are therefore not accurate translations. They are deliberate frauds when they do that. Now you go to the Tetragrammaton, which is a fancy word for 4 letters, and they will present Yahweh's name in English letters as YHWH. There is no justification whatsoever for doing that, and it is flat out wrong. The rule is you translate words, replicating their meaning. You transliterate names, replicating the sound. 4 letters in English do not do that.
Mm-mm.
So it is absolutely, unequivocally wrong. It takes and makes Yahweh's name unpronounceable and not knowable, and that is flat out an abomination with God that is unforgivable. Now, there is no crime against mispronouncing the name, obviously, because God chose a man who had a speech impediment to convey his name to the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an absolute crime, an abomination that is unforgivable to negate his name and to go and replicate it in the English letters YHWH is absolutely wrong. And it's deplorable and it's unforgivable. Your choices are to replicate the sound, which is Yahweh. You can show the letters from which those vowels were generated in Hebrew, and therefore convey the alphabetic base of each of those sounds in a way in English that it is pronounceable.
And everybody does it. Everybody does it correctly, because it's a simple thing. Do you remember back in 2002, cable started to come out with all these foreign language channels? You could watch news from around the world, right? You could watch news in Swahili. You could watch news in German and Thai, and you could watch the news and you wouldn't have an idea what they were saying, but all of a sudden you'd hear blah, 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 Osama bin Laden in every language, know?
Yes. Or United States. Or America, or George Bush. Yes, the names don't change. So to come up with a Jesus Christ, for example, is moronic. There was there was no Jesus in first century Yahudah. There wouldn't be a Jesus until the 1629 third edition of the King Iam's Bible, when it became the King James Bible. There was no J in any language prior to that time. So there was no Jesus. There were no Jews. There was none of this. But you notice the one name that they actually turned it into a name. It's not a name in Hebrew. Hasatan is not a name. It's a title.
No.
But they transliterated the title correctly but removed the definite article so that it's not a title. Because as a title, it would be Hasatan, the adversary, because you transliterate and translate titles. And so they screwed that up twice over. Now, on top of all of that, the book that this anti-Semite, Stephen with the PhD, boy, does it ever prove my point that that the educational system has completely failed in America, that Stephen with the PhD isn't smart enough to know that all Revelation is a really crappy job of plagiarizing and paraphrasing. And its number one source is the book of Ezekiel, and it's exceedingly easy to prove that the book of Ezekiel was actually inspired by your very Hasatan. And so, since it's the number one source for paraphrasing in Revelation, and the book of Ezekiel not only has 2 grotesque rape scenes in it, the vicious rape scenes, it has 25 torturous ways to kill a Jew. It has a complete destruction of Jerusalem and Yehudah with this Trumpian scale monstrosity that is more like a concentration camp as a replacement temple. And it replaces every one of Yahweh 7 Moed Mikre. It is an abomination. And if you don't know it's an abomination, shame on you. You don't know what Yahweh gave us in terms of a test to prove what he did not inspire. And I have 2 entire books written to disprove the book of Ezekiel. And yet there's 37 references to Ezekiel and Revelation, which means if there is a book of Satan, it is Revelation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's his playbook is Ezekiel. I mean, it is that simple. And it's when you break it down in the Babel series, it becomes so clear. Like you said, with the moving of the Moed Mikre, and
Yes.
the fascinating part of that always really got me. I had this sense, this idea that demons, Halal ben Shakar or whatever, wouldn't use Yahweh's name. That it it hurt them or something. That there was some rule that they couldn't use Yahweh's name. Right? Not true. Ezekiel smears it all over the place.
All over the place. Yeah, that's why I had to replace it. This is this is not him.
It's not him.
Yeah, it's robbing Yahweh of his name by erasing it is not quite as bad as misusing it. And it is misused all over the book of Ezekiel. Anyway, that preamble to Revelation is absolute trash. There, first of all, it claims to be a angel, and there are no angels. There are malach, but there are no angels. One representing the fantasy player, Jesus Christ, who was created by Paul in 52 CE. He never existed. Speaking of a church, and guess how many references there are to a church in the entirety of the Christian New Testament? 0.
None.
0. There is no church in the Christian New Testament. In fact, there is no name for a God in the Christian New Testament, and the man that Paul positioned in that regard is never called God in the Christian New Testament. The whole religion is an absolute mess. But what they want him to do is to burn an Israeli flag, because the religion that was written and created by rabbis, where the authors of the religion were principally Jews, creating a mythical Jewish man has become the most anti-Semitic tome on the planet. Now that's really twisted. If you're a goy and you're promoting that, you are really out of touch with reality.
Yeah, this whole
their own anti-Semitism.
Yeah, this whole idea of this term is thrown around all the time. Synagogue of Satan, right? That specific term to smear Jews, but synagogue is a Greek word for come out, right? Come out. So how?
No, it's with a gathering, I think, is the root of that name. Ecclesia is to call out. Ek meaning out, and ecclesia to call. That's the word that is misrepresented as church, which is the name of Church, the goddess of the Germanic religion, where the sun is considered the supreme deity. The opening bit of this is a diatribe, to the extent that it had any association, any part of it had an association with a person named John, which is probably unlikely. He was condemned by Paul, and so since he spent time in synagogues, by his own admission, Paul did, because Paul claimed that he was the bestest of the rabbis. Then it is John who is calling his nemesis, the man that Paul called out to condemn, the synagogue of Satan. So it's self-incriminating in that regard. And matter of fact, the ecclesias, which would be rendered church, although there's no correlation with that term, prior to it, you have one that is essentially meaningless because they went against the actual teaching, and then you have they go from that to dead, and then to satanic. So this is it's a really, really negative thing. If you do what I have done and you render it accurately from the oldest manuscripts out of the Greek into English, that opening salvo is exceedingly condemning of the book, and then from that point on, you have this huge problem of that its number one source is Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is just trash. There is no Magog, there is no Armageddon War, there's no Valley of the Dry Bones, there's no Magog Federation. There's not going to be a third temple as described therein. The Moedim are never going to be replaced. They'll be fulfilled as they were originally articulated. And the depictions of the God and Ezekiel are paganism from the Babylonian astrology myth. So, I mean, it's just absolute trash. You want to trash something, trash the Christian cross and the whole myth of Jesus, and you can burn that up, and that would be a wise thing to do, Mr. Stephen with the PhD. Oh, so here we have another post, and my point here is that how can there just be such trash posted on X that the majority of the things you see are just absolutely rubbish? Here it is: breaking. Israeli settlers are burning down, all caps. So this is a MAGAite in the village of Nakora in the West Bank. There is no West Bank, by the way. Setting Christian families' homes on fire. There are no Christian families there. And Nakora isn't even a town in the West Bank. So the place doesn't exist in the West Bank. There are less than 1% and rapidly declining Christians throughout the Muslim areas. And they were not burning down Christian homes, much less in that place. The entire thing is a lie by Jibner to condemn Jews, and there he is with his Israeli flag, just to be a false poster. But I think that the majority of posts that we see now on X are from bot farms. I just think it's a bunch of Gen Zs with nothing else to do with their lives that are scamming the system on X to be an influencer, and you get enough accounts and they follow one another that you can generate money, creating the kind of influence that appeals to the numbskulls that use social media. So all we can do is expose it and condemn it. We tried to use it to reach Israel and to awaken Israel, and they're way too thick-headed to reach. Sorry.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to be very anti-Semitic here. Is this supposed to be America's greatest ally? I mean, it's just sick to not even have any facts right.
No, Nakora is in Lebanon.
Yeah, it is. That is correct. It is. That is correct. Yep. Yeah, I went and I just wanted to verify that because I'd never heard of the place. Well, I've heard of the place, but not in Judea and Samaria. So my goal was to verify that my understanding was correct. So I searched it and said that while it's not the correct spelling, there is a place that has a name similar to that, but it's in Lebanon. And the next one's worse. And so my response to this one is, Grok, why do you allow such rubbish? I said SHIT, and and probably the better term for this particular thing. But Grok, what's wrong with you? Why would you do this? They Goldstein, which I'm certain is not Mr. Goldstein's name. So this is another another fake account, which is all that keeps X and Facebook running is fake accounts. If there was actually an investigation as to how much of these are fake, people would just stop using them because it's all bot farms. Anyway, Mr. Pretend Goldstein wants to say that Jews stole. They stole. It's a big word for you, Mr. Goldstein. Power in Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution. Oh, those dastardly Jews. They usurped power. One of the first laws they passed was making anti-Semitism punishable by death. Necessary because Russians began noticing, oh no, they got into their plot, that all of the Bolshevik revolutionaries, all of them were Jewish, and they spoke Yiddish, not Russian. Well, would you like to know what percentage of all? I guess he has a new definition of all, but he's Mr.
All does not mean all.
Mr. Goldstein, all does not mean all to him. All would be 100%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you can get a little fringe and say, okay, if you get 98, 97, we'll call that good enough. That's horseshoes, right? What about somewhere between 1.5% to 5%?
That is not all. That is far, far less than all.
Far. Yeah. That would be a insignificant few were Jews. And they could not have led the revolution that was called the Bolshevik Revolution unless they spoke Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And besides all of that, the Soviets, the resulting Bolsheviks, they were more anti-Semitic and more extremely subjugating of Jews than almost any government in human history. So rather than accomplishing what this a-hole is suggesting, that all of the Bolsheviks were Jews and that they usurped power in Russia and that they spoke Yiddish, it was somewhere between, call it 2 to 5% that were Jewish. Insignificant number. They didn't usurp power, and all power was turned against them.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, Grok, you allow this. Why? It's a complete fabrication. It's a known fabrication. It has been fact-checked and shown to be untrue. It's like the protocols of the elders of Zion. It has no validity. It is a really bad job of stealing another person's work. It is plagiarism, where it was a satire on the political affairs in France that was turned into this nefarious tale against Jews just by changing the names. It is absolutely false and trash. So I'm just disgusted. The social media is just a swamp of turds.
Yeah, the Soviet Union did exactly the opposite. They didn't tolerate any religions. They were trying to, they wanted everyone to celebrate the religion of man, to become a good comrade, a good Soviet, They didn't tolerate any religion. So,
yes, that is correct.
When you dig through who this is, Antiseptic Horse, who actually posted this, is posting a picture because Mr. Goldstein 7 has already been suspended out of X. And Mr. Antiseptic Horse is a white supremacist. So
surprise,
consider the
surprise.
source.
Yeah. And why do you allow it? So join the U.S. Navy, and you too can become a pirate and a thief, taking orders for the con man and thief. And all the little MAGAs say, yeah, I voted for that. Imagine that. You take an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, and you join the Navy, and you become a pirate.
Literally a pirate, yes.
No, that's not really fair to pirates. pirates were democratic. There is no democracy in the military, so that's not really fair to pirates. And the pirates were actually robbing the government thugs of France and England, and they were genuine a-holes too. So they were actually performing a service. These guys are not. They're just stealing properties of businesses because they have a thug for a leader.
Yeah,
it's our oil tanker now. Yeah, okay, you go ahead there, pal. When your morality falls to the point that you're celebrating thievery, you're in trouble.
Yeah. If it's a little boat, we blow it up. If it's a big boat, we steal it. I mean, that is the United States Navy take on these things.
And we plant the American flag, on it
Mm-hmm.
and celebrate POTUS, who is Satan. Yep, America, you should be so proud. Yeah, this is an interesting interview.
Yeah,
It's Barbara Walters, who was a fairly bright lady. In fact, there's a really bright lady. And she's interviewing Trump when he was a young man. And he's speaking to the fact that he managed to actually lose the money he inherited from daddy. And if it were not for the fact that he finagled banks to bail him out, and that bailout was largely supplied by guarantees from the USSR because they had the goods on Trump and had made him. And so he was bailed out from being hugely in debt. He managed to squander what he inherited. And if it wasn't for what is essentially bank fraud, he would have gone bankrupt. And she has the goods on him and holds him accountable, and he doesn't have an answer for it in that interview. It's worth listening to. You can play it if you want to on my X channel. You go to my X channel by going to yadayah.com, the media page, and there's the Craig Wynn channel on X, and you'll find it there. She did a very nice job, and he did a very poor job. He's been a con man and thief for a long time.
And poorly. I mean, she takes him behind the woodshed when he wants to start talking about, some bankers and everything. She's like, no one says that. I mean, she flat out says no one says that. It was hilarious. I just love how she took him to the wood. She wasn't going to take it.
Yes. Yeah, she was much better than any journalist we hear today. Much better.
Yeah.
The journalists today are just not capable. They don't have the horsepower. They don't have the backbone. They don't have the substance to stand up to this man, and none of them do. And the ones that try just become rude. And you can talk rudely about him because he's Satan. But if you're going to be effective with him, you need to stand your ground by being composed. And those who actually take him to task are very seldom composed. And he is so unsettling that it is difficult to be composed in his presence. So I understand that.
Yeah, they're scared of him. I
Yeah,
watched. We have a post later on with him with the Trump 28 hat, and I watched quite a bit of the White House Correspondents' Dinner that they redid over the weekend, and he got up and spoke, and it was like Hitler speaking to folks at Auschwitz. I mean, telling jokes. It was absolute. There was a couple smatterings of applause. They were scared, and I mean very scared.
There wasn't a joke is probably not the right term because he didn't tell jokes. What he did is he got up there, bragged that everybody's going to be broke when he's gone, that he is the only person that is capable of doing anything, that everybody in this room was a complete loser except for him, that he's the only person that has the right to breathe air, and that every news organization that was there, he wanted to call out their most acclaimed anchors or writers to personally slander them and condemn them, not to tell jokes about them, just to besmirch them. And the award for most outstanding journalism was to prove that I think it was the no voter fraud actually took place and in the last rounds of elections, and that was the journalistic award. And when he heard that, he threw up his hands, and then KKK Barbie had to pat him on the back. That's okay, Satan. We'll get him next time. Oh, it was really. I mean, it was so creepy that there are those who want to besmirch me for because I know who they are and that they're frauds, and I've called them out as frauds, and they will make the claim that I am wrong in identifying this man as the great betrayer, as the one that the prophets said would betray Israel and the world, and that was the actual incarnation of Satan. And yet, in every way, on every day, he proves that assessment was accurate. Every way, and every day. And the saddest part of it all is what is happening in Israel pursuant to this man. After he checkmated them in the memorandum of understanding, he actually completely and totally betrayed Israel. They knew he betrayed Israel, and they're such a Stockholm child that they're sucking up to him again. It's reprehensible what we're witnessing. And now we're now in a position where he is really screwed because he has the two highest ranking military officers, the head of SIMCOM and the head of the Joint Chiefs, telling him two things regarding the Iran war that have him completely stymied, which is why there's been no action for 4 to 5 days in the Iran war. One, SIMCOM has said there is nothing we can do by bombing Iran that's going to change anything. There is no target we can hit. There is nothing we can do that is going to change the outcome of this war with continued bombing. That's SIMCOM. That's the head of SIMCOM. And the head of the Joint Chiefs said, we are out of munitions. We cannot continue this war. We don't have interceptors. We don't have guided missiles. We can't continue this war. We can't defend, and we can't attack.
Wow, that's what months of bombing a mountain, and we're out of bullets, guys. We're out of bombs. We're out of bullets. Unbelievable.
Yes, it's unbelievable. And he's only has three options. Only three options. He can put boots on the ground and invade Iran and destroy America and the military and the world and himself and everybody in the process. That's option one. It would be so catastrophic that you might as well short the dollar, short America, say goodbye. It's over for America. And it's over for America anyway. It just shortens the time frame. The second is to sign an even more egregious surrender document like the Memorandum of Understanding and acknowledge that you have failed. Or third is to do what he did with the Houthis, lose the battle, sail away, and claim victory.
Yeah,
those are the three options. There are no other options in this regard, and the longer it goes on, with the Strait of Hormuz closed, the closer the world gets to total and complete anarchy and economic collapse.
And every day, number two gets more and more expensive. You want to bemoan the $320 billion to rebuild Iran? Right. Every day, that number just ticks up. You know they're not going to take. Oh, we lost 3 bridges in Bandar Abbas. We lost the reservoir. Check. Yeah, okay, we're at 380 billion now. Keep going.
Yep.
Yes.
And the worst part is that they, with every attack, they destroy America's facilities in Kuwait and in Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, such that there won't be anything left, even if the strait does open up. And it's very, very close to Iran, because Iran wants America to invade, where Iran is very possibly will invade Kuwait just to taunt America into deploying ground troops.
Wow.
So it's a real mess. It's a real mess that man has made.
That would be a twist.
Ernst 001 is really, really stupid. And you would like that whoever you're sparring against not to be really that stupid. But where does God say he is all knowing?
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
Where are you, Adam? Where are you?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since God makes it very clear that he is not all knowing, for you to attack God based upon the claim that if God is all knowing, that is a racial fallacy. So, big boy, if you want to step up and go mono agado with the real deal, go to yadayah.com and try to refute it. But playing around with religious idiots just makes you look like you're as muddy and corrupt as they are and as dumb as they are, because you really are.
You need to put a little more time in listening and learning and a little less time into your AI graphics.
There you go. Well, Jesus, that's a really nice script, isn't it? Jesus is God and King, even if you don't think so. No, God is not a man, you're a fool. But what I would like for Miss Renee Johnson to do is, why don't you find the place in your Christian New Testament where it says that Jesus is God? Please. Doesn't say so. Matter of fact, they had a vote in the 4th century to decide whether or not they were going to declare a man God or not. That was going to be the vote. And it was the Council of Nicaea. That was the purpose of the Council of Nicaea. Arian correctly said that, that there is no indication that God can be a man, and men can't kill God. And so if you listen to what he said, he never once claimed to be a god. If he was a god, don't you think he would have said he's a god? But guess what? He never did. So he's not a god, and your vote's not going to make a tinker's damn with a difference. But nevertheless, stupid is as stupid does. There's 2.5 billion people that believe the vote of the Council of Nicaea over the words of their own myth, because your mythical gospel Jesus never said he was a god, and he never said he was a king, because guess what? He never was.
Yeah. The whole voting thing with anything in regards to God just never made sense. The Yehud in Auschwitz had a trial and put God on trial, right?
Yes, they did.
And I'm like, I just don't understand what this playtime is all about. Why waste your time with such things?
Rabbis, going back a long time ago, I think this was Akiba actually came up with this concept. That he was so twisted. He says, God's a proponent of free will. Of course, they didn't know his name, Hashem or Adonai, is a proponent of free will. And therefore, free will means that we should be allowed to vote. So if 3 or more rabbis get together and they view one thing to be correct and God views another, the vote is 3-1 and the rabbis carry the vote.
Just nonsense. That's not how any of this works. Oh my goodness. Well, man can do anything they want to with their make-believe gods, can't they?
They can.
I mean, they really can. Yes.
Sad.
The Greeks all lived on a hill right up the hill, and nobody ever went up Olympus to go see them. So it's like they just lived right there. You could see. Yeah.
Well, they were all statues. They were all statues carved in the images of men and women. Fake gods have always looked a whole lot like men and women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even the ones they have in the sky, they're either look like animals or Virgo or Aquarius or Orion. They're all either it is men, women, or they're animals. Your pagan gods look like creation. God's not a man. Men cannot kill God. Christianity is false. So there are some differences, to be fair, between Trump and Hitler. I can give you 2. Their names and the years that they destroyed the world. Trump 2028. Huge theme now as part of all of this. What he's telling you, I don't give any shit about these midterms. I do not care, because there's not going to be any elections in 2028. I'm going to continue to be president, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. There he is, Mr. Trump with the hat on top, Trump 2028. The fact that it's unconstitutional doesn't seem to bother the MAGAs, not one iota. They got their flag there. That's the dumpster's big flagpole in front of the White House. What he's done is diminish the White House by putting it out of scale. And it's not even centered. But he's not a very centered guy either, nor does he understand scale.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
Ballroom. Yeah, what's happened to his ballroom? Speaking of scale.
Oh, he talked all about his ballroom in that correspondence dinner, and he was giving away secrets that the Pentagon doesn't want me to tell you about how deep we're going and all the things we're building there, and you guys are going to love it. It's going to be so much better than this dump we're at here tonight, which was the Waldorf, I thought,
Yes.
and he's doing this with his Trump 2028 hat on. I mean, he puts it on and just smugly looks at him, after the crowd.
Yeah, and there's only one thing you can do with a narcissist of this extent, an egomaniacal psychopath. There's only one thing you can do, and that is you walk away. Mm-hmm. Everyone in that correspondence dinner should have just gotten up and left. Mass exodus. Let him talk to no one. Mm-hmm. No one should present his news conferences. Just completely ignore him. It'll drive him absolutely apeshit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a responsibility still, because he'll get the message out that he wants out because he has Trump tweetable, is that you have responsibility for correcting him and saying, no, you were wrong. But that doesn't mean you need to give him a podium. You can criticize him without giving him a podium. And that's what the correspondents ought to have done, is just to have walked out.
Yeah.
So this is head of SimCom, and it's Admiral Brad Cooper, and he's one of the two. And his recommendation is to stop the bombing campaign, which was stopped, I don't know if it was 3 or 5 days ago, around the Strait of Hormuz. That there's no purpose to any of it. There's no chance of it being effective. Why do it?
Mm-hmm. And,
what's the point?
And we're out of bombs. And we don't want to say it, but
he didn't say that because he doesn't have access to all that kind of information. But the Joint Chiefs do, and that's what was told to Trump. We're out of weapons.
Yeah, that's not something you do in a war. Is say, oh, by the way, we're.
But America doesn't make anything of any consequence anymore.
Right.
So. Yeah, this is quite the picture here. Eric Dougherty is a part of the TTTs, the Trump tush talkers, and he boy, it must really stink in there. But he is give the enemy nightmares. Trump 2028. So, to hell with the U.S. Constitution. To hell with America being a republic. We want a dictator, and that's our dictator. But play that and look at the imagery. It looks like Satan and his demons for sure.
Yeah, and they don't realize that that Trump's enemies is the public of the United States. Let's not forget that. He has said so.
That's not completely true. Yeah, they are among his enemies. Mm-hmm. But to say that Trump's enemies are the public United States is wholly inadequate. He is Satan incarnate. Satan hates humankind, everybody. His revenge tour when he became president again was to destroy the world. That is what he's about, is the utter obliteration of the world. And he's going to ramp it up one step at a time until we reach 24 September 2033. And that'll be his last kill.
Yeah. I guess you don't get a title like the adversary without being adversarial to everything. So,
yes, he is Rahab. He is the great betrayer. He is the Torahless one. He is Satan incarnate. He is the one of whom the prophet spoke. He is the most deranged, demonic, destructive, and deadly man who has ever lived. This was just so annoying. When I showed up my post, you had this idiot who is having a tizzy fit that DoorDash won't deliver food in Washington, D.C. anymore because of a 20-cent fee on all home deliveries, whether it's food from a restaurant or medicine from the pharmacy or groceries from the store. And so I decided I would look into it. And he has this whole thing about poor old little Washingtonians. We don't get to vote for a representative in Congress, so we have no say in Congress. It wasn't a Congress tax that DoorDash was responding to. It was the Communist City Council of Washington, D.C. that passed the tax. Then he says, and they just had a meltdown, a tizzy fit, rather than actually talking to the people in D.C. and in government. Well, guess what? They passed this fee without even having a public hearing on it. And they didn't bother to ask the people that it would affect. And they didn't begin to think that, their constituents benefit from things like DoorDash. Mm-hmm. And that DoorDash is a business and they don't own it. And so what DoorDash did is said, all right, if you're going to decide that this is going to be the way that you're going to tax people, and they did it in communist fashion because they wanted a program that they could redistribute wealth, which means they are the ones who get to decide who it goes to so they can bribe future voters. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. That's the whole concept of Marxism. You bribe future voters by stealing from productive people and giving it to underproductive people so that they will vote for you until such time as you have total and complete control and there is no one left to steal from, at which case everybody is impoverished in your sick scheme. So it was the DC Council that approved the 20-cent fee on every third-party delivery order, ending up in the District of Columbia, and affected services of people like DoorDash and Uber Eats and Instacart and the like. The surcharge proposed by a council member, Brianne Nadeau. Did you think that Brianne Nadeau is got that job because she was a very successful business woman in the DC area, and that she had hired lots of people, created many jobs, built something of value? No.
She was a community organizer.
Yeah, she is a Marxist dunderhead. And it was included in the fiscal year 2027 Budget Support Act and is intended to fund food access programs, including grocery assistance for low-income residents and support for local restaurants. In other words, we're going to give it to those that vote for us. The fee applies to deliveries of restaurant meals, groceries, prescription medications, and household essentials. Critics, including DoorDash, argue that the tax is regressive, disproportionately impacting low-income residents and small businesses, and they claim it was passed without a public hearing. So, this communist, Ryan Beckwell, he was writing an editorial piece, and he says the San Francisco-based company worth about $73 billion, as if their value at $73 billion had anything to do with the 20-cent fee. There is no correlation between the two, and the company is not worth $73 billion. That is the price of the stock times the number of shares. That doesn't do anything for anybody, and it's a meaningless number. The company has operating revenues, operating costs, and operating profits, and none of that has anything to do with your $73 billion or the 20 cents. And they're an independent business, and they can choose that. Well, If I have a customer that is going to treat me like this and is going to tax my business without me even having a say in it, then the answer is no. Because if they do this, the next one will be 10 times that. The next one will be 100 times that. And then they'll seek more and more control over my business. I'm not going to expose it to that. So they objected to it and they walked out. But rather than make a case to the district's elected leaders or persuade the voters that the fee was a bad idea, DoorDash went nuclear, to remove your services from a community is nuclear.
The opposite of
Ryan
nuclear. I just walked
Beckwith,
away.
You are a genuine piece of shit.
Most people don't have a clue what it actually DoorDash charges these companies, these restaurants. The percentage of the sale is huge.
It's huge. I know it's really tough to be a restaurant with the DoorDash model. First of all, privately, I like DoorDash. When I was in South Florida, and we had every restaurant, all my favorite restaurants were within 10-minute drive. And I could keep on working, do whatever I was doing, and just go to my phone and push a button, and I would get Mongolian beef delivered to my door from P.F. Chang,
Right.
and lettuce wraps. I mean, I was all over that. I wined and dined Leia for the first year we were together with DoorDash. That was my specialty.
DoorDash from P.F. Chang's. This is this is not McDonald's DoorDash. This is P.F. Chang's. Yes.
But
Okay.
we had steakhouses. We had the full. Now we had some really elegant restaurants that we dined at too that weren't part of DoorDash went out. But it is true that DoorDash charges the restaurant. It's about a 20 to 25%.
20% at least.
Yeah, fee that they keep, and then they have a delivery fee on top of that, and it's still, they make it work as a business model. It worked for the restaurants; they do get incremental revenue. The restaurant is having somebody that they are able to sell a meal, which they typically have margins that are north of 100% anyway, and so they're giving away a quarter of their margins, but not having to use any aspect of the restaurant other than the kitchen. Anyway, it's I happen to think it's a really good business, and we don't have it here in the islands. Our DoorDash is Perry. Would you mind going and picking up?
Yeah, I don't have DoorDash either. I don't have DoorDash either because I don't have an address. But anyway, I've never had DoorDash. So what this guy's complaining about though is. So DoorDash walks away because why don't we have he didn't talk to the lawmakers, didn't ask the people, the lawmakers didn't ask them, I mean
will this affect your business in the district? And they didn't bother to ask because they hate business. It's amazing that Americans have been so indoctrinated as to hate business, and particularly young Americans, when they don't know that everything that they have is because of business. Without business, they would have nothing. Business pays 100% of the bills. They built the hospitals, they built the schools, they do everything. If you have a program, even if it's socialized medicine, it's because of business that you're in that position. Government is nothing but a parasite. So it's 100% business. And if you hate business, then you're a fool. You're just probably worse than a fool. You're greedy and selfish and ignorant and immoral. Oh, yeah, you may deny him, you may mock him, you may hate him, you may blaspheme him, but you will bow down to Jesus Christ and call him Lord one day. No, Renee, no. I killed him. I absolutely slaughtered him. Just the truth of the matter is, sweetheart, I killed him. And I assure you, I did such an effective job of slaughtering your Jesus, he ain't never going to rise. And if you want to read the post-mortem, I've laid it all out for you. Full disclosure on the post-mortem in the 5 volumes of Twistianity, and they're all free at yada.com. He never existed. It's the dumbest lie of all time. There's 3 of the 5 books right there. Right on cue. Thanks, Renee. We'll chat again one day. Yeah, by his wounds we are healed. Take something out of context and apply it to the wrong person. By the way, his name is Yeshaya. It means Yahweh saves. That pretty much destroys the whole nature of your religion. And he was speaking of Dowd, and he says as much in the 9th chapter when he identifies the person who represents the child who is born and the son who is given. That is the great Gabor. It is Dowd. That is the actual Messiah, the actual firstborn son of God, the actual king, and the actual savior who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bokorim. So you got it all wrong. Too bad you don't know who he is, because there was no Mr. Christ. That's a nice looking God, though, you got there. Handsome looking God. Yeah, I'm sure God really likes the idea of you diminishing him into a man and then beating the shit out of him. Nicely done.
Perfect place for this one.
Epic goddamn fail.
Where did that come from?
I recognize that voice.
Kevy had a long, hard Sunday, so he tried to have fun where he could have fun. So,
You know, we do combat pay around here, and now that I have gone back and translated the Choder chapter of Isaiah, God's really quite lavish with his combat pay. I will tell you. So there is a reward for all of this. All right, time to smell the poop. He's a dictator. He's not president anymore. For him to continue to be promoting 2028, he is announcing, I am not the president of a republic. I am Der Fuhrer. This is the Fourth Reich. And if you're not smart enough to see that, then you are ignorant as hell.
yeah, he is not going
Eric
anywhere, is he?
Dattery.
I mean,
No.
he is It could have been a thing. It could have been a joke. It could have been sarcasm when
It's
he
not
would
a
had
joke.
2028 hats in the White House,
It
a
wasn't.
gift
It wasn't a
shop
joke.
or whatever, and that he just keeps going. And he's
No,
he's
it's
serious.
never a joke. It's never a joke. No, he views himself as a dictator, self-entitled. He is the spirit that wanted to be God. And he is now in position where he controls what was the most powerful economy and the most powerful military in the world, and he has trashed both. And he will continue to trash until there's virtually no life left on the planet. Yeah, it's interesting that Arachi came out and said that the Ukrainians blew up a commercial ship on the Caspian Sea, and so they have entered the war against Iran. So
How stupid can you get?
So you're going to take Russia's ally, and you're going to go up and blow one of their boats up, and you're going to invite them to start sending missiles against you in addition to the other targets. And the only thing you have to be careful of here, because I would expect Iran to do as Iran does, which is to reciprocate, is that you send a missile in the wrong place in Kiev, anywhere near that guy, and you're going to have a mushroom cloud of cocaine. So the fallout of that could be really bad. Might be as bad as nuke. I don't know.
It's going to be bad for a lot of people for a while. Yeah.
It is going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad. This is MAGA again. They're turning they're literally a piece of shit into a master chess player. But he is a master chess player with guns for forearms.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that's never lifted a weight. It's a guy that, when it came time to serve his nation in Vietnam, got 6 deferrals for bone spurs, of which he never had. That was all a deal to give a man who is a foot doctor. You're so accustomed to calling him a pedophile that you want to call that the name of the podiatrist. But there's a slight difference between pedophile and podiatrist. But he had his office in one of Daddy Trump's buildings, and Daddy Trump said, I'll give you a deal. I want deferments. And without ever seeing him, gave him those deferments. And now they want him to be all buffed up, so that he is those kind of cuffs. Isn't that the Chippendale type dancer? And he's playing chess. I don't think he could name the pieces on a chessboard, much less play the game. And
everybody knows the horsey. Come on, everybody knows the horsey. So you got to give him one, right?
Well, they're not called horses. Bishops and bishops and knights and rooks and pawns. Well, he should know something of pawns, and he claims to know something of being a king. But man is an absolute piece of demonic dung. And with all of this, he has but one move, and the guns don't exist. The guns are silent. His only move is to either surrender or to sail away and admit defeat.
Yeah.
That's it. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm ruining Iran. I'm ruining America. I'm ruining the Middle East. I'm ruining the petrodollar. I'm ruining the world's economy. I'm starving the world for lack of fertilizer. Can't build anything with aluminum anymore. We're running out of helium. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. And every move I make backfires.
Oh, the most important part's hidden down here. Don't doubt me.
Don't doubt me.
That's yes.
That's Satan's line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't ever doubt der Führer.
Don't doubt the Führer. All right. So here are the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet that's not totally correct. Like, for example, it's not the letter U, and you're being inconsistent if you're going to call the Yod a Y and the Wa a U. So there's some issues here with the alphabet, but there's a T, a TH sound. I mean, so there's things that they did not get right in terms of their transliteration, but it's reasonably close. There's a difference between the 3 T's. They've got 3 T's there, and each of them has a subtle difference in their pronunciation. Particularly, the Tasdi has a huge difference, and the Ain is typically not an A sound either. It doesn't. The LF and the Ain are different letters. They don't create the same sound. But the key thing there is, would you please find for me the letter J? Because these are people that claim that they're Hebrews, and I would like you to find the letter J for me.
Well, the lamed, if it's the hook that's upside down, right? We can't call the lamed a J.
No, you can't call it. No. In fact, it would be even in that in this particular case, they reversed it. It was a shepherd's staff, but they screwed that up too. In fact, all of these letters are a screwed up variation of the original letter shape. But Jew, how can you have a Jew in a language that's Hebrew? There's no J. So
no Judea.
The fact is that
no
Judea, no Judaism,
no Jerusalem.
No Jerusalem. Every one of those things is a lie, is a misnomer, and it's careless, and it's catastrophic for God's people, because what they have done, particularly with Yehud, is they've written both their God and their Savior out of their lives, because Yehud is a compound of Yahweh and Dod. It wasn't until the 17th century that the J was created, in the first time that Jew was used. So you can't say that Jews go back into antiquity, because that's just not true. Prior to this, the word existed in English languages, using the I to transliterate the sound of the Y. And the fact is that the Hebrew Y is more accurately transliterated using a E than an I, but nevertheless, that's what we have done. And the Hebrew term Yahudem and the Greek Latin Iudus, they have antiquity, but nothing was written with a J until fairly recently. And you've taken all of that history and you've thrown it all away. You've taken being the chosen people with Yahweh, and you've thrown it all away to call yourselves Jew. And there's another problem on top of all that. Even at the base, Yahud was not an ethnicity, and he was not all of Israel. He was just one of 12, one 12th of what is represented. So for everyone who is thinks they're a descendant of Abraham, Yishak, and Jacob, you can't, at the very most, 1/12 of you can be Yehud.
Yeah.
And Israel, which is the larger subset, was all created as a naming convention. It was a new name afforded to a holy Babylonian family by ethnicity. So you've got a real problem with these names, and by not knowing what the names mean, you've lost all touch with reality. Israel has two sides. The side that Israelites have been on for the last 4,000 years are those who are contentious with and opposed to God. And for the few that have actually awakened and returned to him, it means those who engage and endure with God. And that's what Yisrael means. And Yahud is beloved of Yah, and it is a compound of Yahweh's name and Dod's name. But you've thrown all that away so that you have no basis anymore. Oh, this is what Paul Washer, what an idiot. Don't look for the church nearest your house. Look for the church that's closest to the Bible. Well, Paul, you have a nice smile. You have a very nice smile. So I'm not sure you're a very nice guy. But Paul, funny thing, there's no mention of a church anywhere in the New Testament. Nor is there a mention of a church in the Torah, Prophets, and Psalms. There's no mention of a church in your entire Bible. Paul, how come you don't know that? Paul, why are you offering advice on a church when you don't even know there's no church in the entire thing you call the Bible? Oh, and guess what, Paul? There's no mention of a Bible in your Bible either. In fact, the only word that comes close to Bible in your Bible happens to be Babel, which means to confuse by intermixing truth and lies. Paul, how come you don't know that? Paul? Oh, by the way, since we're mentioning things, Paul, there's no mention of Jesus in it either. And there's absolutely no indication that God was a man. Paul, you got it all wrong, Paul. Why are you offering advice on things you know nothing about? Paul, wash your mouth out. Paul.
He's bad with contractions. Don Knotts, wasn't he the actor? Don Knotts to look for.
Yeah, Don Knotts. Yeah, that's I didn't even notice that he can't write on top of everything else, but whatever happened to intelligence? Well, obviously it doesn't exist with the religious or posters here on X. Donut. Is that like a donut?
Maybe that's where we were going with it. We just forgot the U.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, yeah. Worthless on the outside and a hole in the middle. Well, it's holy.
What did I see?
And it's kind
the
of like
other
a halo
day
too. It kind of fits the Christian religion, doesn't it?
people were upset that AI companies are going to libraries and buying up books and taking them apart and scanning them to train their AI models because there is no place online left without AI slop. Where AI has written so much online content and stuff that they can't get good language to feed into their language model, so they're tearing up library books for it. This is what this points to right there is that AI doesn't know that it can't contract correctly.
I had an argument with AI this morning. I had asked you a very simple question. I said, what was the date that Yahud was replaced with Jew? You know, I know it had to happen sometime around 1620 to maybe 1700. Has to be in that period where the term Jew was first used. But I thought maybe, the AI is supposed to be able to do that kind of lookup very quickly and give the answer that the first use was here in this periodical at this time for this reason. But no, it first came back and said there is no correlation between Jew and a version of Yahweh. And I said, I didn't write Yahweh, I wrote Yehud. They said, oh, excuse me, yes. Well, that Yehud has a long history and it goes back all this time. And it went and I said, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, AI? Aren't you supposed to be honest and smart and capable of doing research? Why is it that you do not know there was not a J in any language until the 17th century, and therefore Jew could not have been used prior to the 17th century? Why did you give me nonsense as opposed to answer my question? Guess what it came back with?
What?
You're right. You're right. I should have done a better job. I was wrong. You are absolutely correct. The J was invented in the 17th century and was applied to words that began with an I. And Jew appeared during that time, and it had never been used previously. So what that says is they actually do know. They're programmed to deceive. They do know. They're programmed to deceive.
That's interesting.
Guess who's programming
that is
them?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you're.
And every time I've been down this road before, I've found that to be true. That if you ask the question, they will give you a deceptive answer that will cause the average person to say, that's the answer I was looking for. Therefore, I'm going to use this AI more. Therefore, I'm going to use this site more. It reinforced what I was believing because what I believe is popular. That is what they will give you, even when they know it to be false.
Yeah.
And then if you push it, they'll say, you're right. I was wrong. This is really the answer. And that is true for all of them.
That really goes to the old maxim, never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to.
Yeah,
because
and of course,
it's
we have
just
a
going to lie
generation
to
now
you.
that's using AI to do everything, to write their term papers, to set them up on a date, to respond via a text, to do everything in their lives. Who should I vote for? Everything in their lives is controlled by AI, including for guys, that's their new girlfriend.
Right.
Donut, man, they're
Oh, Paul.
Oh, they say Palestine never existed, but I got proof. Palestine competed in the 1934 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Oh, Earth hippie. History. The ethnic slur, Palestina, and it was Palestina of Syria, was first uttered by a fellow named as Emperor Hadrian. And while he was uttering it, he was crucifying Yehud by the tens of thousands. He was burning those who were literate in Hebrew alive inside of Torah scrolls that were soaked in kerosene for his giggles. And so Hadrian asked repeatedly of those he was burning alive, who was the great enemy of the Jews? And one of those people being burned alive said the Philistines, and said, good, I'm going to rename the province of Yehuda Philistina, Syria. That's how the lie came to be. It was reprehensible. It was said by a madman. It was meant to be nothing but an ethnic slur. It was specifically designed to deceive. And anyone who perpetuated that lie, and there were a lot of people doing it, but mostly in the UK. And the UK came to control the territory of Israel after World War I because they bribed the Wahhabis in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere, but mostly the fundamentalist Wahhabis. They armed them and they bribed them to ride on camels with many times just winging swords to go and attack Mecca and Medina and to eliminate the Ottoman Turks. And so the Brits used Islamic terrorists as proxies to attack the Ottoman Turks. And in the end of that war, which the Brits should have had nothing, because America only entered that war to bail out the Brits so that they could pay their debt to J.P. Morgan. And yet the UK, which was the worst colonizer on earth other than the Muslims that preceded them, gained control over this territory of Israel. And they decided that rather than call it Israel, which would have been accurate, that they would call it the same name that Hadrian had used as a slur. And so that's why in 1934, it was used. You ought to know that, Earth hippie. Seriously, before you go and say such stupid things. There is no Palestine. There is no Palestinian. It is an ethnic slur. And today, it is used for one purpose: the extermination of Jews and the elimination of Israel.
Yeah, this picture, as it is presented, doesn't prove anything. I zoomed in on this thing. First of all, this Palestinian football team, 1934, that graphic is added by the AI that did this graphic up here. It matches. There's nothing on here to show that this is even real. And then you zoom in on it. That's not the Palestinian flag on their chest.
No, well, that Palestinian flag was created in 1963, 64, by taking the star off the Jordanian flag is how they created that flag. So that flag didn't even exist prior to 1960s, which would have been way in favor and before this. So no, the whole thing is just a despicable series of lies. And at the time, the British ruled over this area. Along with a really disgusting man that I would put in the top 10 most revolting men of all time, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Mohammed Haj Hassani. And he was the man who convinced Hitler in 1941 to exterminate Jews as opposed to exile them. So he has the souls of blood of 6 million Jews on his head, and I intend to hold him accountable. But this whole thing is just a pile of despicable anti-Semitic rubbish. And if the sad thing is, it's used by Israeli politicians and the Israeli media and people like Vivid, who is such a disgrace to his country, or its country if it's a Badite, who knows. But it's used all the time. To repeat the lie makes you part of the lie.
And it's only used because the British are just in love with their Latin. They just think it sounds so their naming conventions with in medical terms, in science, all this started with that Enlightenment period. And it was the British using Latin terms to name animals, fire, all this stuff.
Yeah, but it's not really even a Latin term. It was Hadrian, who of course was a Roman general. Of course, he would have spoken Hebrew, but he was really into Greek mythology. He left after killing a bunch of Jews and or Yahud, and he went to Greece to be the lead official at the Easter celebration for Dionysus. So you're going to go worship his god after slaughtering tens of thousands of people for nothing, just because Rome was the most egregious apartheid, genocidal maniac of an empire in the history of humanity. So Palestina is not a Latin term. It is a transliteration of Philistine, Philistia, in the Torah and prophets. So it's all that is a transliteration of a term that appears in the writings that was twisted for this purpose. So it does prove the transliteration part. They got the transliteration part somewhat accurate, but the people that it was transliterated after were exterminated 2,300 years ago. And they were savages and invaders from Crete even then.
Literal Cretans. They were
Cretans. They were,
never gets old.
Yeah. Mr. Now Discerning of the Goyim No. This is his, so he is now discerning of the Goyim No. That the Jews ate and raped kids on Epstein Island.
Is Trump Jewish?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious.
No.
Talking about the number one Epstein guy. That's not Epstein.
I think Epstein was vegetarian, wasn't he? Some kind of
right.
I mean, he might have eaten, if you were there, now discerning the Goyim No, he might have eaten you, because you appear like you about the intelligence of a vegetable. So right. you might have been on the menu. No, Epstein Island was not a hangout for Jews. They didn't rape little kids, and they most certainly didn't eat them. That is a blood libel that goes back to, I think it was England that started that blood libel, that Jews were had this satanic thing, and they were eating
babies,
eating babies as part of their satanic ritual. I think that was born in the UK. Speaking of scum, yeah. All right, so this is the next one. Just shows you just how utterly stupid. You can't find anything that's intelligent. There is no intelligent life on X. So this is James Tate. It's got his blue check mark. Republicans tore it apart, and here's his post. That's FDR while he could still stand, although he's got a cane and he's leaning against something. And they've got him, says, seems like a good time to remind everyone that FDR capital raised taxes on the rich significantly, and in so doing got us Medicare, Social Security, a jobs program built on that built an American middle class. No, he didn't. Yes, he did raise taxes, but none of the rest of that. And by raising taxes as he did, he took a depression, and rather than us coming out of it the following year, it lasted another decade. His economic scheme was catastrophic. So no, he did not raise taxes and create anything other than to extend the depression. Social Security has nothing to do with raising taxes on the rich, because the rich don't pay for Social Security. Social Security is a pyramid scheme. Period. Full stop. It is a pyramid scheme. It is not based on taxes of the rich. So you got that wrong too. And about your Medicare. Medicare was created by LBJ after he participated in the murder of JFK. And at the time, he said it would never be even a fraction of 1% of American government spending. And now it's about a third of it. So you got the wrong person on there is no jobs program that is a business program that is funded by the wealthy, and there is no government business program. The Social Security is not a product of taxing the wealthy. It is a pyramid scheme, and it was LBJ, not FDR, that created the Medicare system. But this is what we deal with today. We just have people that are absolutely, reprehensibly stupid. And the more Marxist, communist they become, which is, I'm sure, what James Tate is, they further they're out of touch with reality. They literally have no economic sense, no history, no recognition of history, nothing. They can't think. This is X.
And what's going to get thrown back? And what's going to get thrown back in their face is FDR, I think, is the only one that had 3 terms. And Trump is going to be
elected to a fourth, I think. Yes, and that's why we passed the states passed the amendment saying no more of this. We'll never do this again. He turned out to be a Marxist. You would use the term fascist because he. Of him now, but he was really a Marxist. He was in love with Stalin. He was the person who made certain that the Second World War would never liberate the concentration camps, would avoid doing anything to save Jews or help Jews in any way, and that it was only after the war was over that even be bothered with that. But he's the one that made certain that for Europe, the Soviet occupation of Europe would be worse than the Nazi occupation of Europe because of his utter stupidity in fighting that war. He was the one who made the horrendous decision that we would lose 400,000 Americans to avenge the death of 3,000. Grossly immoral. And he ran as a king, and it is the reason why there was a amendment to preclude anyone from running for more than 2 terms. So yeah, he was a disaster. This was one of the worst people in history.
Invented the idea of packing the court too. You know, I mean,
he also stole the wealth of Americans through gold. He confiscated all gold. He fixed the price of gold artificially, then stole it at that low price, made it a crime for Americans to own gold, repriced the gold, and used that to fund his boondoggles. And what he did is put the nation on a course that would be disastrous financially. So, yeah, this is a man who began he and Woodrow Wilson before him. Those are the 2 men most responsible for the death spiral America's in now that he can't get out of. You know, it's interesting. Of course, you cannot use the term Bible because the Bible's a bogus term, but you can't prove the New Testament by citing the Old Testament and the New Testament because it just constantly contradicts itself anyway. But it is interesting that the Torah and prophets, I can prove divine inspiration and prove that it's accurate and that Yahweh inspired it. So, you'd be wrong again, Mr. Atheist, because I not only can, but have proven Yahweh's existence and his inspiration of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms and their accuracy in the 35 books that fill the shelves at yadayah.com, all for free. That you don't even have to read, which will help this generation a lot because it'll talk to you. But it's all there for your consideration. But the fact is that prophecy proves prophecy, and just accurate history prove the authenticity of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, and there is no proof for the New Testament because it's just a pile of rubbish.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing that I found out through reading the Yadayawa series about prophecy is that prophecy goes both ways. It's not just about things that, in the future, like people think when for instance, Moshe saying he wishes all of Israel would prophesy like Eldod and Medod, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not
Right.
talking about things being, telling the future and this divination or anything. No, he's talking about getting the facts right now, getting the facts right
Right.
about the past. That's what he's talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most prophecy is speaking for God is getting the past right, and the present right, as opposed to the future right. Although there is a lot of future prophecy as well. But the one of the issues with Christianity is the entire evidence for their mythical God, this man who is supposed to be God, being valid, is it's claimed that he fulfilled a bunch of what they would call Old Testament prophecies, even though there is no such thing as an Old Testament, the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, and yet their guy is never mentioned once, ever. And not only is he never mentioned once, there's not a single prophecy that pertains to anything that he did. And the ones that they write in are mostly where they would say, all right, there was a mention of 30 pieces of silver someplace, so we're going to apply this to our God. We're going to say he did that. There's a mention that a woman will give birth to a son. And so what we're going to do is change woman to virgin, and then we're going to pretend like that son is our guy. We're told that the Messiah came from Bethlehem, so we're going to say that our mythical God came from Bethlehem. The whole thing, there isn't a single statement in it that has any validity. There is absolutely no proof. There's not even a contemporaneous eyewitness. Not only isn't your own books serve as a contemporary eyewitness and provide any proof at all, but there's no outside proof of any kind. And for the idiot to say, oh, but Josephus, he speaks of it. No. What Josephus did is he said that recognized that the letters of Paul had been out, and he mentions in one line, and there's enormous tomes of history, that there was this fellow that some thought was a Jesus fellow, and used the Greek term Christ. However, you've got a little problem with that. First of all, Josephus lied about everything. He was a traitor, and his most important story was of Masada, and it didn't turn out to be true. Everything about it was false. And second, guess what? He wasn't even born at the time. He wasn't even born at the time. You don't have a single eyewitness. And oh, by the way, that text in Greek that he is supposed to have made that claim, the oldest extant testimony of that statement comes from the 10th century, 1,000 years later. And it was in the custody of Eusebius, who's the guy that concocted most of your New Testament. It has no validity. You have nothing. And for all of the huge claims that you make, as much as the Romans documented everything, and there isn't a single documentation of anything, you're just utter fools to believe that trash. It's just untrue. And this notion that there is a God who became a man is absurd, as is the notion that men could kill God, as the notion that a religious should have a symbol of their dead God being tortured. And that's their symbol. Really stupid. And it's an anti-Semitic religion, and yet all of the authors were Jews. It was created by rabbis. Who, by the way, same rabbis also created Islam. So there you go. Oh yeah. So this is the new definition of patriot, is to trash the U.S. Constitution. So this is a person who calls themselves a patriot, and they're trashing the U.S. Constitution by having their a glorified position of their guy, the devil himself, as Trump 2028.
2028.
It's everywhere. You know, the thing about propaganda is that for the lie to be seen as credible, you have to repeat it ad nauseum. And so what are we seeing? I'm just responding to posts in my feed. The lie is being presented ad nauseum, and it always has to be associated with something that there is an emotional tie. So the eagle, the American flag, all that sort of thing. This is how propaganda works.
Killer whales, yeah.
Oh
Cool
yeah, killer
stuff.
whales, baby. Swimming with POTUS, baby. For the
And
American
behind
flag,
this is a
going
Led
trunks.
Zeppelin. Behind this is a Led Zeppelin track. I didn't play the sound. Rich will have to tell me which Led Zeppelin song this is. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was going to be ironic that he used "Immigrant Song" but it's not "Immigrant Song." It's a different one. But it's a Led Zeppelin track behind it.
Yeah, of course, and look at the storm clouds in the distance. And of course,
Oh, yeah.
orcas are the chief predator of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
That's the song.
What? Are you playing it?
Yeah, I just played a clip of it real quick.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know if it went out or not.
Yeah, I got it in my ears. Okay, so this is another one. He's my everything. Oh my God, I can read him. He's fire and ice. Oh, yeah, enough potential like that. I'm fire and ice. He's my everything. JC Powell is as real as Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. Well,
Oh,
then I
my.
guess he's real because Santa Claus he comes
Fearless.
down the chimney and the Easter Bunny delivers eggs. You know, I never knew that bunnies laid eggs, but you know, the Easter Bunny does. And I didn't know that fat guys slid down chimneys, but it must be true. And JC is every bit as real as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Because they can
I
create
use this-
an AI. They think he's real.
Jesus Christ never put a fiver under my pillow. That's all I'm going to say. So if anything's real, it's the Tooth Fairy. So
Tooth Fairy, yeah. I had a fiber under my
I get
fire.
cold
Yeah,
hard
it's-
cash from that. You know.
Yeah, and I got tricycles and bicycles from Santa Claus. So and I
Right.
can tell you the number of times when I was a young boy and my parents did the old Easter egg hunt, and I got my share of goodies. So
Mhm.
and yeah, Jesus didn't do squat for me.
Nothing.
Nothing. He's a nothing. We the people stand with Trump, and here he is declaring that he's going to totally ignore the we the people and ignore trash the Constitution, and that is their guy. American flags waving. Yep. To stand with Satan, you forfeit your human card.
I just wanted you to be able to see this in the bottom corner here. Trump Army.
Army. Yeah. You know, one of the questions really is when this piece of shit tells his MAGA faithful who have no morality to pick up guns and start killing anybody that isn't part of their clan or cult. You know they're going to do it. I mean, they stormed the U.S. Capitol under his instructions. They will
Oh
do it.
yeah. Oh,
God
absolutely.
and country.
Yeah, for a fake god, for a satanic dictator, yeah, they'll do it. They are to be concerned about. We the people. And by the way, you the people represent last count 27%. So 73% do not agree with you. You're 27% and declining. Every month that goes by, you seem to lose another percent. You know, you went from 51 to what, less than 2 years ago, you went from 51%, and now you're down to 27%. That's quite a fall in less than 2 years.
The more concerning thing for them is that they have lost the demographic race. So what if you're 21% or 30% of the population if you're geriatric or overweight and can't get out and do anything with it? The problem they have is that the is on the other side. The Marxists and Muslims are able to put military age males out into the field, where MAGA can't do that.
Yeah, you know, the only reason that this POS even has 27% following, and that he is allowed to continue to wreak havoc with the world, destroy the world, including the U.S. economy and the U.S. military and the like, and the U.S. standing in the world, is because the opposition may be worse. And MAGAs can just say, would you rather have this or a communist? And since the Dems are not only 70% communists at this point, they're nominating the most extreme of their party, both Muslims and communists, and they are not going to get any of that middle vote of the typical undecided. So they're not going to get any of that. And so you've got about an equal number of communists against a equal number of MAGA retards. And I don't know how that plays out, but that's kind of where we are right now in a national election, that anybody with half a brain isn't going to side with either the two of them. They're going to say a plague on both houses. There is no lesser of two evils here. Oh, this one's really, really, really disgusting. Go and play it. There's Trump on the Mount Rushmore. And that's baby Trump. (2028). (2040).
So we're going to make it a what is that? Where the children follow in the father's footsteps as the leader, a king. Okay, that's right. We're Barron is a prince, huh? And he's the next to take the red hat crown. I take it in 2040.
I guess so. Yep. So we got the dumpster as the leading the biggest head on Mount Rushmore. At least they got one thing right. He's as dumb as a stone. So
right.
I got no problem with that. But I do have a problem with his son is old enough to not be Mr. Bonespur and to join the military. So if he wants to invade Iran, why don't the two of them strap on their boots and go lead the charge?
Yeah, no, he's too busy hanging out with the Tate brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah, he is Mr. Vulgar Tate Meister. You're right. And the other option is, of course, they could go send ICE to invade Iran.
There you go.
Yeah,
them boys want to go rabble rouse. Give them a free trip over there.
I'd vote for that. I might
absolutely.
I might even support it. You betcha.
Right. So you were telling me a little bit about moving into Yasha 11. You're going to talk about that a little bit on Luminaries today, or do you think because we turn the page, we start chapter 18, don't we, on Luminaries?
Yeah, we are now on Luminaries. We're talking about what happened in Egypt 40 years, actually 80 years before the Exodus. And we learn about who Moshe's mother actually was, who his father was, how he was actually raised, and the teva that was put into the Nile, and that whole, I think it's the most interesting 6 minutes in the Torah. I think it's an absolutely fascinating story, and everybody has gotten it wrong up to this point. So it's going to be fun to talk about that in Luminaries as to how Moshe was prepared for this role. And then from that, we go directly into the story of Ruth and Boaz. We have 4 chapters to Ruth and Boaz. We'll come out of Ruth and Boaz and go into the 10th chapter of Yashaya, which establishes the time and the purpose, the timing and the purpose of the Choder. And it is exceedingly detailed as to the world that the Choder will enter and what he will accomplish. And I can assure you it has heretofore been presented inaccurately. And then I have retranslated Yashaya 11. I'm now writing the commentary on it. But as it turns out, the Choder is not a nice guy. He is definitely not a messianic figure. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
I think we may have lost audio on Craig there. Yep. Okay. He knows. We'll just keep going, and when he pops back in here, okay, I think we're going to call it.
That the Choder actually
Oh,
is not
now we're
presented
back.
as a nice guy. He is presented as a Shaphat, and it repeats
Mm-hmm.
that. He is judge and jury. And in the 10th chapter, he is the flaming sword that Yahweh uses to rid the world of the religious and political and the conspiratorial.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And then he is the judge and jury. God positions him as the person who is responsible for determining who goes to Sheol and whose soul simply dissipates into nothingness. That's a lot of responsibility, which is one of the reasons he has the
Yeah.
7 spirits of Yahweh to guide him. And it's an exceedingly important aspect of the Torah that and of the covenant and the Choder that has heretofore gone undisclosed as to how difficult that job is that he has been given, and the role that he plays as the ultimate judge and jury over human souls. And he's the one who rids the world of those contrary to Yahweh and to his covenant and to his people and to his Torah at the end. He determines who gets in, who doesn't, and who goes to Sheol and who dissipates into nothingness. It is God calls it is such a rough job that he does get what he's looking for, which is a vacation when all this is over, because it is a really, really tough job. But as I told you before the show, that he is not presented as a nice guy. He is presented as a tough guy, exceedingly judgmental, and literally the fate of souls is left up to him. Now, he's not going to be arbitrary. He's going to act in accordance with the Torah. He's going to have the 7 spirits of Yahweh guide those decisions. He is called exceedingly wise, fair, insightful, knowledgeable, respectful, but bold and courageous. But he has that responsibility, and it's unequivocal, and God doubles down on it and makes it very clear what he's being asked to do. So the bottom line here is that you don't have to like the guy, but you'd be really unwise to confront him, to oppose him, or to try to negate what God is achieving through him would be a very, very bad decision for your soul. It's a job that no one should covet. It's an exceedingly difficult job that God has given this man. That's why, you don't see a smile on his face nearly as much anymore, as he's come to realize what's going to be expected of him. And this next 7 years is going to be really, really tough. The good news is that God was lavish in his praise of the overall job that we do, and he makes it very clear that we will get a vacation in the end, and that the conditions of that vacation are going to be extraordinary. You're going to have an address. And the digs are going to be he's so clever. The environment, whether it's homes or yachts or whatever it is that we choose, God uses the same term that he weaves through his story. The very same term he used of the mother of Moshe, Jochebed. It's kabod. He says that the environment that we'll be in will be exceedingly kabod. When Dod was being challenged by Michael, and he said, "Will let the Amma decide whether or not I'm kabod?" Well, the habitat for the Choder and those supporting him is going to be exceedingly kabod from God's point of view. So,
and that's saying something.
There is.
Yah has a spectacular point of view, and for him to say something is going to be pretty darn significant. I'm going to say it's going to be. Yeah,
you're going to like it. It's going to be extraordinary. So anyway, that's the story. but we got a lot to accomplish between now and then, and it's really serious. And I think that you should expect seriousness from all of us. If something doesn't measure up, if it's a foul of what God is trying to accomplish, we're going to be no nonsense. We have to be no nonsense. God is expecting us to serve as the Shaphat for the world, the judge and jury of this world. And when God last assessed humanity, he says, "I regret creating."
Oh, yeah.
So you're starting with the realization that God's not fond of humans.
Mm-hmm.
We have really disappointed him. And he's quite clear into what's going to happen as we move through towards the end of this remaining 7 years. It's going to be a complete obliteration. It's going to be an extermination event. The overwhelming preponderance of people are going to be no more. So that is what we're moving towards, and we are doing everything we can to get you to listen so that you're not swept up in this. But if you choose not to listen, well, you will be. And there'll be no additional second chance. But if only I knew, can I, deal a new hand?
Listen,
let's move another.
learn, live.
Now, not
Now.
later. Listen, learn, and live. Good way to end. We'll do a program later today on luminaries, and as I say, the most interesting 6 minutes in the Torah, and then return here again tomorrow. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for devoting your weekend to podcasting. Looking forward to seeing the final version of Dr. Jeff's program as well, and Leah, episode 1, and her poetry. That ought to be interesting too. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Kevin. Signing off.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.